Hi, Dante here. Happy New Year, everyone. I know I've been away for a while. I must apologize for that, but I am back. So I have a lot of things packaged for everyone, for all of you to enjoy. And I'm here to actually give them all to you. So welcome back to you all. Happy New Year once more. Let's get into today's topic. So today's topic has to do with how to retain the things you've read. Now I have a simple hack for you to retain the things you've read. So we all know how important it is to actually read things, to actually broaden your scope, the way you think, the way you understand things, and even to study for, if you have an exam or if you have things you want to learn to apply to your business or to your life, you can get them from books. Life coaches and motivational speakers will tell you about how to read books and all that. But what I rarely hear from people is how to retain the things you've read. I see a lot of people trying to pack in books and all kinds of books just to actually, be in this race to read as many books as possible, but very few actually retain the things they've read. So today I'm going to teach you a simple hack to be able to retain the things you've read. So a little background info here. Now, this hack I'm going to teach you is something I actually applied while in school. Okay, for the most part, while in school, I used to, be taught my class, and this is something I normally did all the time whenever I'm actually preparing for an exam or whatever, and I use it and it always works 100% of the time. It never failed me. So I'm going to teach you this hack, okay? And it comes in 4 steps. Step number 1, read to understand. Actually read to understand. Don't just read because, you see people reading or everybody's talking about reading this, reading that, reading this financial book, reading this financial book. Just the most important thing is for you to read to understand. Now, we all have different rates of assimilation, different rates you can actually understand things or pick up things. So just move at your own pace. Don't rush it. If you read a line or a sentence, you don't get it, read it again. Ask someone. If it's something you need to check on Google, check it. If it's something you need to check in a dictionary, check it. But make sure you understand. Don't just skim over the books, just skim over things, because what you understand, you can actually explain to somebody better. You can be able to, give out some information without having to cram things. It's a lot more easier than trying to cram things into your head. Understand it's all about quality and not quantity. So don't be in a hurry, okay? Just take your time, read and understand. And that's the first step. Number 2 is making notes. While studying or reading something that you really need to apply in your life or to pass an exam, while reading it, you need to make notes. Even if what you are reading is something you've written before, still take notes. The reason is this. It's a psychological thing. There's a way our brain processes things when we're actually writing them down. We're actually able to remember the actual act of writing. Whenever I want to record this information, our brain stores not just what the information is, but that particular time or period where we're actually writing it down. So you might not really remember what's this, but when it's time to bring up this information, you can recall writing it and you can picture, how the event or how you're flowing while writing it. And it's easier to recall things when you make notes. Now, these notes should not be inside the same book that you're reading. Let's say you're reading something like Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. You should not be making the notes inside the book you're reading. What you should do is get a separate note, pen, and then just have a particular notebook for writing these things down. Whenever you come across something interesting or something like, okay, I need this later on, or I need to actually make, this is really nice or interesting, you write it down. It really helps. One of the reasons why I actually do it this way is 1, you have a particular point of reference, a particular place to actually reference whenever you need to go back to the things you read before, instead of just going through each book that you read. You'll be reading several books and let's say you want to reference something, you cannot, and you're away from your books, you can't just keep waiting till you get back to your book. You can still just get into your notes, get to, let's say, the particular page of the book and look at what you've written there before I'm like, okay, this is what I wrote. And then it's easier. And it's like a summary of everything condensed in a way you can understand it. So always have a pen and a note with you whenever you're reading or studying. The third one is to relate what you've learned or what you read with a real life experience or situational projection. Now, whenever you're reading things, we can come across something that we think of how best to actually apply it in, let's say, an event we've been in before and an event we might actually come across before. For instance, let's say you're reading something about the art of public speaking. Don't just read and skim over it. While you read, just ponder. This thing I've learned. Maybe they say, while talking to people, don't fold your arms, don't put your hands in your pocket while actually addressing a crowd. Okay, maybe your arms should be in front of you while addressing a crowd. You think of it and just take your time to actually picture yourself in that situation, addressing in public, and how it will feel like to do something like that, okay? To actually apply such things. So think about where you can actually apply the things you'll be reading, and just, it's something like daydreaming, but with these things there. The most important thing about it is it should be something relatable to you. Not just maybe other examples that actually affect other people, just something that is unique and relatable to you that you can always recollect, or you can always picture in your head. And if I either experienced it before, or you will still experience it. Some of the examples I actually pick up in the books you're reading, think of how we'd have applied it to maybe a previous experience and how it would have made such an experience much better. Now, the last part, which is probably the most important part of this hack, is you must apply whatever you've learned from this book as quickly as possible. Once you do that, it almost never escapes your head again, your brain again. It's always there. And you can always bring it out, like the information when you need it. It is really important to actually apply this immediately, because every second our brain is processing information, and as more information is getting into our brain, the old ones are being subdued, are being taken deeper into our brain by new one. So the earlier you actually act out or use the information you've actually acquired, the easier it is to be always at the top of your memory. So whenever you want to recall it, you always recall it. For example, you learn a new word and you're like, okay, this word I like, so it's an interesting word. If you don't want to forget this word, what you should do is apply it in a conversation you're having with someone or something you're writing to someone, but it should be contextual. By now, you already understood the meaning of the word, so find a way to actually apply it within the context of the conversation. This is an example that's given for, let's say you've read something and you picked up a new word and you're trying to build your vocabulary. Now, let's say you're studying for an exam or something in school, and you're studying for an exam, and you read something and you've gone through this whole process and you really want it to stick. And unless you cannot really apply this thing to, your life as it is, the best way to actually retain this is to quickly teach someone close to you about this. It could be your classmate, it could be a colleague, it could be your younger one. Just whoever it is, just let the person give you their audience, then you teach the person this thing. As soon as you do that, it's always in your head. It's always there. It never goes away. Okay. Now, this particular thing is what a lot of speakers do. Pastors do this. People that actually engage in public speaking do this a lot. And the reason I actually use pastors, because pastors have to memorize a lot of verses in the scripture. And I'm sure you're a little surprised, okay, how do they actually get to always have this in their head? Besides the fact that they prepare before each sermon, but if you actually meet them on spot and they start spitting scriptures for you and quoting verses for you, this is actually the technique most of them use. They learn something, they learn a new scripture today, they find a way to actually apply it or use it in the next sermon or next thing that they teach. And once they actually quote it, it almost never goes away from their head. In summary, 1, read to understand. 2, make notes. 3, relate the important things with what you might experience or what you've experienced before. 4, apply what you've learned as quickly as possible, or teach someone what you've learned already. So that's it. That's the hack to actually improving on your retention capabilities to retain the things you read. So that's that. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow me on my social media accounts. My Instagram and Twitter accounts are both the same. That's at Don_TEE. So make sure you follow me on these platforms. Actually get a lot more of the things my takes on things related to relationships, health, and personal development. I'll still post on the blog. Follow the blog. I'll also be dropping podcast version of all the videos I make. Every video I make, there'll be a podcast version, so you can follow the podcast as well. Well, the name of the podcast, The Enlightenment Podcast with Don T. So check it out on whichever podcast platform that you actually use, Anchor, iTunes, whatever, Apple Podcasts, whatever. So follow me there and, keep informed. So till next time, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate that, and I have a lot more coming your way. So stay tuned.